Okay, so here's the video that covers this reading response unit. So when you click into your reading response unit, you have this sort of explanation that is basic information with the schedule here. Here are two sample reading responses. So these reading responses are sample reading responses are essentially responses that students from previous semesters have done with, kind of a few little minor edits by me. And you can see how students have taken these particular questions, which I'm going to open up. Every reading response is going to answer the same 9 questions, but takes those answers to the questions and addresses them, as I say here, organically, um, incorporating quotes from the story, analyzing the text, and organizing those ideas. So you're not simply going to give me a list of answers. You are going to turn it into a little paper. Okay, so let's first start off by taking a look at the questions. Okay, so we have 8 questions. If I said 9 before, I think I took one out at some point. So again, you're going to answer the following questions in paragraph form. Your response should be about a page and a half in length. That's about 350 words. That's not very much. Some of you were doing a fair amount to that little frost poem. So I think you'll be fine using proper MLA format. You can look at the samples to see. You also now know a little bit more about that from doing your works cited page from your scavenger hunt. They don't need to be answered in order. You want to answer them sort of organically as your response progresses. Okay, so the first question is, what is the reading about? This should be very short, couple of lines at most. You aren't going to be recounting um, the plot in great detail. You are simply going to be, in a very brief amount of space, tell me an overview of the plot. This is not a book report. This is just minor stuff. Then you want to tell me, who do you think is the most important character in the selection? Explain why. Setting, where does the reading take place? Why is this important? Then you're going to say to yourself, what's the most important word in the reading? What word in that particular passage do you think is most important and why? If you want to define that word, you should use the Oxford English Dictionary, which can be found at your databases A to Z at your library. Then, what's the most important line or statement in the reading? And again, explain. What word not in the reading would you say best explains that reading? So, what word that the author doesn't explicitly use sum up that reading? Pretend the reading is not about something that you mentioned in the plot recounting. In other words, what's really that story about? What's really going on? And then finally, what universal theme? So things like love, revenge, um, jealousy, growth, anything like that really constitutes a theme. So once you've answered these 8 questions, then you can write your little paper. And again, you'll want to take a look at these samples. Let's take a look at the first one. There are 2. So here is a reading response using these same 8 questions on Kate Chopin's The Story of an Hour, which is a story I used to use. And I've changed the stories up this semester, but this is one that I did up until this past fall. So you can read through this and you get a sense that, yeah, hey, this student was answering those 8 questions, but did it in a way that is feels literary, feels scholarly and organic. Okay. So here is a handout on critical reading. We talked about that our first week. You want to go back and reread this, thinking about critical reading as you read these stories. You want to annotate the text. Okay, so you want to make sure you have a good grasp of the story. And then here's the handout on elements of fiction. So things like character, irony, plot, setting, style, symbol, theme, tone, all of these things. And here's sort of a little cheat sheet, I guess, in one page. Here's a whole bunch of different literary terms that you can use as you write your paper. All right. All right. So now here we are at the reading response. I give you guided steps. Before you start, look at those two handouts I just looked. The critical reading and the literary elements. Next, you go through these steps, 1 through 6, to writing your paper. Okay. So you're going to review. There's a PowerPoint. Prepare to read the pedestrian. I would print it out so that you can take notes on it. Read the story. I provide audio recording. You can use that. Now, this part through here, 4 and 5, this is your virtual attendance assignment section. There's a worksheet. You're going to answer the questions. Then you're going to go to the Padlet link and participate in that online discussion. Finally, you're going to write your reading response paper. You'll take those 8 questions, answer them. By now, you should know the story pretty well, and then turn it into a little paper, similar to these samples. Okay, so let's just take one quick look under here. Here's your PowerPoint. This will give you brief background on Ray Bradbury and his dystopian fiction. Here is the story itself, the PDF. Here is the audio. I screenshot where to find it. This is actually Ray Bradbury reading the story. You can choose if you don't like this, you can go find your own audio. It's fine. But I recommend you listen to the story. You don't have to, but it does help. Here's this worksheet that you're going to answer to prepare for the Padlet. Here's your Padlet link. And here is where you will upload your little 1.5-page reading response paper. I want you to take these papers, seriously, in the sense that each one is worth 5% of your total grade. You aren't having a test or a quiz. All you have is the Padlet and the paper. So, focus on that. And then for next week, I have the story if you want to start to get a jump start on that. And as always, feel free to email me if you have any questions. I try to respond pretty quickly to people's emails, and I'm happy to explain further. I don't sometimes, these online classes, we don't actually meet each other. So the only way I can know if you all don't understand is if you reach out to me. So, anyway, happy reading.